What's up, Star Wars fans? It's the Emerald Enthusiast, back with another action figure review. This time, I'll be looking at the Hot Toys 1/6 scale TMS021 Star Wars The Clone Wars figure of Ahsoka Tano. Let's start with a look at the box. We get a very basic design on the top and the bottom. It is a simple Star Wars logo, as you can see here. The back of the box highlights everyone who was involved in the creation of this figure. On the bottom front, we get a headshot of Ahsoka in her poncho, and of course it says Ahsoka Tano 1/6 scale figure. We get a product shot on the side, and not too much on the opposite side. And the front of the box features a close-up product shot of Ahsoka wielding her lightsabers. The inner cardboard insert is an action shot of the figure with the lightsaber motion blades. And here we see Ahsoka Tano free of the box and ready to rumble. I initially targeted the Ahsoka Tano Hot Toys figure from The Mandalorian, but after hearing about some of the QC issues with that figure, I opted for this one, and I'm very happy that I did. This figure is very eye-catching, and it has many intriguing features. I only have a couple of small criticisms, so let's take a closer look at the loose details now. The figure comes with a plethora of accessories, including these alternate hands. Hot Toys designates one pair of relaxed hands, and then we get a pair of what they term as the gesturing hands, and you can see those here. Then we get a pair of what they call lightsaber holding hands. I'm just going to call them the gripping hands. And we get this fist as well. All of these are expertly sculpted, and the paint detail looks very realistic. And then we get the two motion blades for the lightsabers. And just like the regular blades, one is longer than the other. And you can see this translucent pale blue plastic. And I will be posing the figure with these accessories later on. And of course, we get the more traditional looking lightsaber accessories. And here is the smaller of the two. And as you can see, these also utilize that pale blue plastic. And here's a look at the hilt. These are very well sculpted. As you can see, despite being very small, I certainly appreciate the work that has gone into these. The hilts are very shiny, and of course the blades are removable. I've been able to remove the blades and port them back in quite easily, but nonetheless I would still recommend that you exercise caution to avoid damaging these accessories. Let's have a look at the lower body now, and I really appreciate the armored sections here. The knee guards and the shin guards really look like metal, and you can see the light dancing off of those. Those are separate pieces, by the way, as you can see. I'll address posing later on, but these separate pieces will certainly aid the figure's articulation. I really appreciate the way that this navy undersuit doesn't hinder the articulation. I believe it's spandex or some similar material. Either way, it's attractive and practical. Let's have a look at the torso now. And there is some fine detail work on the tunic. The Togruta head tails aren't the easiest thing to move out of the way. I actually thought that there was some wear on the figure's belt area, the apron, but that's actually by design. And here's a look at the back of the apron. That is what Hot Toys calls it. And maybe that is the proper name. It seems like a weird name to me. And these are actually wrinkles in the fabric. Those are not sculpted in. The body mold is a little larger than she was on the show. However, those were highly stylized character designs, so I don't have a problem with this looking a little more realistic. Now we'll have a look at the arms, and there is plenty to like here, like these gauntlets. Hot Toys calls them gloves. I'll say gauntlets. But you can see that these are separate pieces too. And the arms are extremely well done. You can see how realistic this skin looks. This is a seamless arm, so you can bend it, but there is some risk to this rubbery material. So I wouldn't leave this figure in any dynamic poses. But the skin tone and musculature are both screen accurate, and all of the hands feature magnificent sculpting and paint applications. But once again, these are not the thickest arms, so be careful and exercise caution when you're doing poses with your figure. One of the strongest areas that this figure has is the head sculpt. There is an exquisite amount of detail on this head. I'm not even going to complain about the limited articulation due to the Togruta head tails. With this type of character design, limited articulation has to be expected to some degree. The paint applications on the head tails and the eyes are very precise. And speaking of the eyes, let's get a closer look at those now. As you can see, the face is held in place by this neck peg and magnet. And once again, we get the eye rolling system. But before I replace this, let's get a look at that eye rolling function. If you own other Hot Toys, you have seen tools like this before. This ports into the back of the eye, and then you can get the eyes to move. Full disclosure, I don't use this function a lot because it's difficult to get the eyes lined back up properly. As you can see, her eyes look a little wonky here. But these aren't too difficult to move around. I've had head sculpts that were worse. So I definitely overdid it there. And I finally got them straight ahead once again. The directions will show you how to slip the head into the poncho, and then you just work with the poncho to get it to lay down on her head to your satisfaction. I don't plan to display my figure with this piece of the attire, but nonetheless I applaud Hot Toys for giving collectors this option, since she did wear this poncho on the Clone Wars TV show. In terms of articulation, the feet move backward and forward at the ankle joints, and there's an excellent amount of pivoting. The knees articulate to this degree, so if you want to get the figure into a dynamic running pose, you certainly have that option. Take care with the hip area when articulating the figure. It seems like you could wrinkle or damage the attire if you do this too forcefully. The hips allow the legs to articulate out to the sides this much, so I think that's an ample amount. And the figure does step back, and that will give you plenty of posing options. This is a sturdy figure, and I certainly appreciate that. Due to the tightness of the tunic, the waist rotation is somewhat limited, as is the upper torso swiveling. There's rotation at the wrists and back and forth movement. According to the directions, there should be a little more articulation at the elbows than I am seeing here. However, this is the point where I start to feel considerable resistance, so I'm going to stop at that point. Again, be careful with the elbows on these seamless arms. You can raise the arms up from the sides this much, and you can gently, and I emphasize gently, do a 360 at the shoulder joint. And if you'd like to raise the figure's arms into the wingspan pose, you have that option as well. The figure's head turns side to side. There's a minimal amount of up and down movement, and there's more head tilting than I thought would be present with this figure, so I certainly appreciate that. Speaking of articulation, I need to point out that there are bendable wires in the head sculpt, and that works pretty well. That'll certainly help you with posing options. I certainly advise that you articulate these gently. It feels like you could do paint damage if you're too enthusiastic about it. This one is especially stiff, and it doesn't stay in place as well. I didn't expect it to. But if you're trying to get the figure's head or the arms into certain positions, it is definitely helpful to have these bendable wires in the head sculpt. While the articulation is somewhat of a mixed bag, there are more positives than negatives. And here we have the holo projector accessory, and it comes with 3 holograms. And here's a look at the Obi-Wan Kenobi hologram. And here's a look at the Anakin Skywalker hologram. And last but certainly not least, we have the hologram of Master Yoda. And before I move on, I just have to point out how magnificent the details are on these. Look at all of these lines that are sculpted in, and that's done to give these the appearance of a transmission, and that is ingenious. And of course, that sculpting detail is present on all 3 accessories. And this translucent blue plastic does a perfect job of representing the holograms that we saw on Clone Wars. This is just a magnificent job by Hot Toys. So this is the hand that has been made for holding the holo projector. And the holograms just port right into this, and as you can see, this looks outstanding. If you're a fan of Clone Wars, these accessories really capture the vibe of the show. And that's not all. She also comes with this thermal detonator, and just like the holo projector, it fits into this hand, and that is a secure fit. And that looks amazing as well. I can't imagine any collector who buys this figure feeling like they didn't get their money's worth in terms of accessories. Now let's have a look at the lightsabers, and first we'll talk about how to put the hilts on the hips. First, these small gray pieces detach from the apron. Those pieces are replaced by similar pieces that then port into the lightsaber hilts. This is what you'll need to get the hilts onto the hips. From there, these small knobs will need to be removed from the lightsaber hilts. Here is the figure with the standard lightsaber hilt and the Shoto lightsaber hilt. These are very small pieces, they feel very fragile, so take great care when changing them out. If you're wondering if you can reverse the placements of the hilts, the answer is yes. Here is the figure wielding the double motion blades, and I really admire this concept, and I think they are gorgeous accessories. However, the motion blade for the standard lightsaber is comparatively heavy, so you may struggle to get the figure to hold certain poses with this particular blade. And here's the figure wielding the lightsabers with the standard blades. The translucent plastic looks outstanding, and the lightsaber hilts are very intricate and realistic. Hot Toys never disappoints with their lightsaber accessories. And here is the figure with the alternate fist and the alternate gesturing hand. And now we come to the figure stand, and of course it has the character nameplate on the front. It says Star Wars Ahsoka Tano. It has the appearance of a metal floor similar to those on a Star Cruiser, and then this pillar ports into the base. This figure stand has a waist wire, and this is what it looks like fully assembled. For a size comparison, here is the figure next to the Hot Toys Clone Wars Darth Maul, as well as the Return of the Jedi Luke Skywalker. And at the very top of her head, I have her coming in at just under 11 inches in height. Some collectors may look at this and say that she is too tall, even for a representation of Season 7 Ahsoka Tano, and I think that's a fair assessment. However, that really doesn't bother me very much. I just like the overall appearance of this figure. I also appreciate the durable feel of this poncho. I think this fabric was a wise choice by Hot Toys. And even though I don't plan on displaying my figure with the poncho, I still think that it gives the figure a really cool alternative look. Like and subscribe if you enjoyed this review, and remember to catch me on Multiverse Musings, the vidcast, which is available right here on YouTube. And please, tell all of your friends about this channel. I would certainly appreciate it. And I'll be back with more Star Wars content soon. But until we meet again, this has been the Emerald Enthusiast, and thanks for watching.